Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn how to diagnose the no display problems in the new generation laptops. Okay, and I given here some pinouts or the test point that you have to diagnose or that you have to check step by steps. So in the new generation laptop, like the all voltages are start one after another, like the 3.3, then 5, then 1.2, then 1, then 1.5, and the CPU core and the graphics core, right? So when the all voltages are ready, then this here is the SIO will generate one signal that is called the system power OK. This signal. So this signal you have to check on the SIO. The system power OK signal or the power OK signal is coming from the SI is going to the CPU, because this is a CPU with the PCH. Okay, so the PCH clock and the CPU is on the single chips. That's why this chip is called the SoC. SoC stand for system on chips. That means everything's on the chips. Okay, like the PCH graphics and the clock, all the bridges are into the CPU. So here is the SIO which generate the system power OK. The 3 volt will appear at the system power OK pin. That means the SIO is saying to the PCH or the CPU that all the power planes are OK. Okay, including this motherboard, including this RAM power also. This DDR4 RAM is require a total 4 level of voltage, that is 1.2, 0.6, 3.3 and 2.5. So these are the 4 voltages are required to the RAM. Okay, so VDD, VTT, SPD and reference voltage. Okay, so after generating the system power OK signal to the CPU, informing to the CPU that the all powers are OK, then the CPU immediately generate this signal. It's called the PLT reset or the platform reset. This platform reset or the PLT reset is a 3 volt signal which reset the entire motherboard. Okay, this reset the entire motherboard. This signal you can check on the SIO at its LPC pins called the PLT RST, or you can check the signal on the Wi-Fi card also. The new Wi-Fi card, the pin number 44, you have to check pin number 3 volt there. Okay, so this PLT reset says that all power planes are OK, and CPU generate the platform reset. That means everything's get a reset now. So this is step number 2. After that, the next level is RAM get this thing, all the voltages, CPU get all the voltages, like it's already got all the voltages, and then the CPU generate this DRAM reset. The DRAM reset. So you have to check this DRAM reset. Okay, and then after the DRAM reset, CPU start his clock. The CPU have basically normally CPU have the 2 crystal. One crystal is a 32.7 kilohertz, that is for the RTC, and the another crystal is a 24 megahertz for the clock section. The RTC section stand for the real time clock which generate day and date, and this 25 megahertz the crystal is basically used for the clock sections which give the different clock frequencies to the different circuitry or the chips. Okay, so the clock section will start and the clock will be generated, and this clock you can check on the same on this SIO. You can check at the LPC clock. There's written on the SIO, it's called the LPC clock or the LPC CL key, and there you will get a 33 megahertz. If the 33 megahertz is coming, that means the CPU generating the clock frequency, right? So you have to check that clock free signal. After the clock, CPU start reading this bias. This bias is a 8-leg bias. This bias is a 8-leg bias. Okay, so here is a pin number 1 is a chip select, pin number 2 is a read, pin number 5 is a clock, pin number 6 is a write, and pin number 8 is a supply pin. Okay, so here is the CPU will generate the signal like this. It generate the clock at pin number 5, and pin number 1 is a chip select, and read the data from the bias. BIOS tell the CPU what to do. That is called the power on self test. He check the all the like there is so many regions of the BIOS. It's called the BIOS region, then ME regions, and there is a GB regions and the graphics region. So many regions are there. So CPU read all these regions and test. It's called the check the power on self test. So he is a process to testing all the devices. So you have to check here at step number 5, pin number 1 and 2. There's a pin number 1 is a chip select, pin number 2 is a read. That is step number 5. After CPU read the BIOS, the next step is LPC bus. There is a one bus is called the LPC bus. LPC stand for the low pin count. The low pin count is a bus to communicate between the SIO and the PCH. But here is no PCH is there. That means the PCH is inbuilt into the CPU. So you will get this LPC bus from SIO to CPU. In the LPC bus, there are some signals called 4 are the data and address line. One is a clock, one is a reset, and another important signal is called the frame. So we are not going to check all the data signal. We have to check only the frame signal. So we have to connect the oscilloscope at the LPC frame pin and turn on the laptop, and we'll get the pulses like this. Okay, that's step number 6. It's called the LPC frame. LPC frame is coming. That means the CPU is communicating with the BIOS. The data is processes is completed. If we don't find the LPC bus, that means the possibility that the CPU may be faulty. So you have to conclude that CPU is a faulty, right? So you have to check like that. So after LPC bus is completed, the next steps will be CPU generate the power on self test. That is, he communicate with this RAM and start processing the data, putting the data. But before that, there is a one chip on the RAM. It's called the SPD chips. SPD is a basically BIOS for the RAM, and the SPD is a basically tell the CPU that how much the value of the RAM, what is the capacity, what is the speed, what is the storage, everything, all the information is given to the CPU via a SM bus. SM bus is again a two-wire communication protocols. So basically clocks and data. So step number 7 is SM bus. So you have to check that SM bus communication on this RAM at the RAM pin, that is called SPD. Okay, and if this SPD is making place between the RAM and CPU, then that means they are communicating with each other. If this communication is not there, that means possibility could be the RAM is a faulty or the CPU is again the faulty, right? Like that. So after successfully complete this communications, SPD communication, then the next steps is you check everything, all the process is complete. The process is called the display. So here is a display. Now this LCD displays require basically a two voltages. One is called the LCD VDD, that is a 3.3 volt, and another is a 18 volt, that is a for the backlight circuitry. Okay, so before communicating with the LCD, the CPU send a 3 volt to this LCD VDD pin, and here is that communication. LCD VDD is like this. This is the communications. So you have to check this LCD VDD. LCD VDD is coming. That means all the previous process are complete. That means up to step number 7 is a complete. Okay. So you have to check this 3 volt at its LCD VDD pin. It's depend on which connector display you have. There is a 30 pin connector or the 40 pin connector. So you have to check that. If it is a 40 pin connector, then you have to check pin number 2 and 3, and if it is 30 pin connector, then you have to check pin number 12. Okay, you should get a 3 volt there, and if this 3 volt is getting at pin number 12, that means all the steps are completed. And the step number 8 is again the SM bus is communicating with the LCD, checking the data line, and once this SM bus is completed, then there is another port on the same port, like on the LCD connector only. There is a one port. This port is basically is called a EDP. EDP in the sense enhanced display port. enhanced display port. Enhanced display port is an advanced display port other than the LVDS. So he generates the graphic signal to the LCD like this and generate the display. So friends, in this way the display appear on the screen. Now the next step is, if you find in your laptops, new generation laptop, you are not getting the display, the power on, but you are not getting the display. The first thing that you have to check, all the voltages. All the voltages should be proper. Your all RAM voltages should be proper, like 1.2, 0.6, 3.3 and 2.5. Then all the CPU voltage should be proper, and then you have to check the PLD reset on this SIO, or you can check on the Wi-Fi card slots, because that is a very easy, most easy. Then you have to monitor the current on the DC power supply. The DC power supply current should be about 300 milliampere. It depends again on the processor. If it is a i3 processor, then the current will be the 300 to 350 milliampere. If it's a i5 processor, then the current will be up to 400 into 500 milliampere, and if the i7 processor, then the current will be high, somewhere to go around 500 to 600 or 700 milliampere. It's depend on that. Suppose if the current is normal, then you have to check all the signal like that, one after another, which I explained. And if the all signals, suppose if one of the signal is missing, so basically what you have to do is you wash the motherboard, remove the battery, wash the motherboard, and heat the motherboard. You can heat the motherboard by using a using a oven, or you can heat the motherboard by using a BGA machine or hot air gun, because sometimes maybe dry solder or the bridge contact in between the chips, that can be resolved in this getting heating. After the heating, if you find that if the all signals are there but you are not getting the display, then if the up to 5 number steps everything is okay, if the clock, if it is a this chip select is also coming but you are not getting the display, then you can flash the BIOS. So flashing the BIOS, you have to make sure your model number, your version number should be the same. Sometimes what we are doing a mistake is we are putting the same BIOS but the version is different. In that case your display won't appear. So you have to make sure that. And the another thing is, you have to make sure that in the newer generation motherboards, it's called the CSME, the Converged Security Manageability Engine. In this procedure, all the security features are incorporated into the CPU. So like the serial number, the model number, and the LCD number, the Windows key number, everything is there in the CPU. So when you download your BIOS from the other sites, and if you flash the BIOS, but your display won't be appear because your CSM is not matched to the CPU. So in that case, you have to match all the CSMA, then only the display will appear from the, that is into up to the from the 9th generation onward laptop. But before all the laptops, you don't need to worry about that. You can straight away flash the BIOS and display will appear. So friend, in this way I explain how to check the no display problem. So you have to follow all the steps one after another and you can resolve the problem. So thank you very much for watching this video.